Hello, I'm Deanna Cooney and welcome to another episode of Undercurrent. Back for its second year, the Unlock Film Festival showcases the talents of filmmakers from all around Western Australia in a variety of genres. Angela Albuquerque was at the festival to check out some of our local talent.
We are having our second annual WA Unlocked Film Festival, which allows, basically we're trying to unlock the film industry for local WA artists and talent. We've got the eight finalists, the eight official selection for the film festival of our over 40 submissions. It was a long and grueling process to figure out which ones would make it. We've got some from the WA Screen Academy. We've got some pretty much fully professional filmmakers. We've also got some very gifted amateurs as well. There's a couple of returning artists, people who did very well last year and have come back and tried again. And it's looking like it's going to be a really great night. The genre of the films, it didn't really matter. We weren't particularly fussed. We are trying to encourage everybody to make the films they want to make. And just what we're focused on, HaveU, is the online streaming service that is specific to WA content. Was TV is obviously, from its name, WA based. We are WA social television, so we are focused on WA talent and encouraging young WA talent. So those two companies came together and said we need to make a film festival to make both of our dreams a little bit easier to get. HaveU wanted more content for their streaming service. Was TV wanted to be able to maybe headhunt some emerging talent. So this is our means of doing that and encouraging the industry of Western Australia. We're giving awards for sound design, cinematography, production design, editing, story, direction, best actor and actress, and then the talent award, the runner-up best film, and then the best film. We've got a lot of awards tonight.
Well, to be honest, it wasn't supposed to be a big thing originally. A few of my friends who I'd graduated from the WA Screen Academy with, I got in touch with them and asked if we could potentially work together to screen some local films that were attached to my local video streaming platform, HaveU. And one thing led to another, and it just started to snowball as we started to get some sponsors involved. Local filmmakers wanted to screen their own films at the same time, and it eventually just turned into becoming a bit of a film festival with 160 people turning out last year, which was quite phenomenal.
We won Best Film, Best Director, Best Actor and Best Cinematography, which is quite overwhelming, and it's a very pleasing result because we had a lot of talented people working on this film. This film sort of came about where there was a couple of actors I'd wanted to work with for a few years, and there was a window opened up for us to collaborate, and basically we took that opportunity. It was a very quick turnaround. It was probably a month of pre-production, 2 or 3 days of shooting, and we finished the post in about a week or two, so it was very quick because we didn't have much time to work with the talent.
These are the awards I won last night. I won Best Sound Design and Best Editing, and finally the Unlocked Talent Award, which I'm pretty happy about. It's a bit, I didn't expect to win these, but yeah, I'm just so appreciative, and yeah, I'm just really grateful. One, I guess, piece of advice I would have is just to embrace failure, because that's, it's always going to be a part, especially because it's so subjective, and, film festivals will accept only like a small percentage of films. Keep persisting and keep entering in festivals, and don't kind of let that pessimistic outlook get you down. I think just keep moving forward, and just know that failure will always be there, but I think you have to acknowledge that to find success, if that makes sense. Yeah. I think that there's a lot of room to grow for screen arts in Western Australia, and there's so much talent over here. Just watching all the films last night, I was just blown away by the quality, and just being able to be part of that festival, just an honor within itself. And yeah, I just love to see more films and creations, and just from talent within WA, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the future.
This week, Edith Cowan University held the launch of two separate exhibitions, Charged, an exploration of time through death row prison films, and Trembling Moments, a collection of soft bodily sculptures and textiles. Baz Tadros attended the opening of both events to find out more.
We're here at Spectrum Project Space on campus at ECU, and we're looking at two different art exhibitions. One is called Charged, and it's about the darkness of death row, and the other one is called Trembling Monuments. We'll be talking to both artists and having a look around.
Oh, well, tonight Charged is opening in the Spectrum Project Space. I love Spectrum because it's called a project space and not, not a gallery. And it's the first night, the test run of the show. The show is called Charged, as I mentioned, and it's an exploration of the death row prison film, but particularly death row prison films that, the electric chair centres as the form of execution. I watched this film called Prison, and it opens with this amazing execution scene, and I became quite possessed. I wrote about it in my journal that night in quite detail about what happened, and then I started looking around, and there seemed to be this subgenre of the electric chair death row prison film, and many of them were made in the late 80s, 87 to 89, and I started to think about what is the message that these films are tapping into, what are they about? This is the exploration. This is my way of trying to perform a philosophy of understanding what these films are about. You know, we have these characters that their time is going to be up at a certain point. What's a reoccurring kind of situation in these films is that someone dies on an electric chair. Often they're not always innocent, but sometimes they are innocent, and they come back to haunt the prison. So, and I think being haunted, we have to be haunted. We're haunted by these deaths. We're lucky that we don't have, executions in Australia, but we have a lot of deaths happening in custody, and that's another way of thinking about it. And I'm horrified by them. Inside there is a few little installation pieces. They work together, they speak to each other overall. For instance, there's a miniature electric chair, and I have projected over the top of that some footage of myself where I reenact a scene from, that particular scene is from House 3, another electric chair death row prison film. In the back we have a little model of Thomas Edison's studio. You have to peer through the window. When you peer through the window, you see two different films. One of the first execution films ever made. It was produced through the Thomas Edison studio in 1903. We have those two gentlemen standing on the side of another reenactment of me.
On your knees?
On my knees, being electrocuted. So there's this kind of talking in time, 1903 talking into 1989.
Trembling Monuments is a series of works that I've been working on for almost 2 years. It started as a series of dolls that I used to make, and I started to develop that into a more, like a bigger and more developed project. So I started making bigger dolls, and I started to work on my illustrations and somehow turn them into big dolls. And because I was already using fabric to make the dolls, I was fascinated with the material. It's an intimate, feminine material. So I decided to work on my, it automatically, turned this way, that I started to work on my personal feelings and things that were kind of heavy on my heart and my head, like homesickness and, living in between two places. I've moved to Perth 10 years ago, and I studied here, and I love the city, and it's my home now. But I find it kind of hard and really confusing every time I go back home. So this moving in between two geographical places, two different contexts, it has a big effect on my head, and it's still pretty heavy on me. So it has a pretty heavy effect on me. So I wanted to somehow investigate how does it affect your mind? How, being in two different countries, two different contexts, how much does it affect you? How much it changes your state of being, your identity? It kind of disrupts your whole being. I used Persian calligraphy, Persian letters, Persian poetry, because it's just part of my culture, part of who I am, and it's my language. It makes me feel at home.
Bas Tadros for Undercurrent.
Have you ever received an infringement fine on public transport? Did you think the amount was fair? We caught up with Karen, a woman who received a fine for an infringement she didn't commit and who decided to take a stand.
Well, I neglected to tag on at Claysbrook, which I think can happen, honestly, and it did with me. And when I went to exit at Murdoch, which is my home station, I was blocked at the turnstile. So that's when I realized, oh, I forgot to tag on. So I looked around for a Transperth official, and seeing one against the wall, I went over to him with my smart card. And I gave him my smart card, and I said, oh, look, I've forgotten to tag on. I was supposed to tag on at Claysbrook, but I'll just go out and buy a 2-zone ticket. And I gave him my card so he could check what my travel had been that day. And he said to me, oh, it looks like an honest mistake, but I have to do my job and give you an infringement. And I said, but why? I'll just go out and buy the 2-zone ticket. And he said, no, I have to do my job. But he then did say that I can dispute it online, which I did immediately. I received an email back from Mr. Peter Armstrong in the infringements office, and he said that he had considered my arguments, but that I still needed to pay the infringement and that I had 28 days as of the date on that letter. But in bold letters under that was, if you do not pay this infringement within the designated time, you may lose your driver's license. And I thought that was totally unnecessary because that's threatening, and I was still within the 28 days allowed to pay the fine, and I was still disputing it. So why is he saying, well, if you don't pay, you'll lose your driver's license, or may lose your driver's license? And I thought that was rather threatening, actually, and I think some people would stop right there and just pay the fine, but that just got me even more riled. I think they do use intimidation. I don't know if I can go so far as to say that they were bullying me to pay the fine, but they were using intimidation. And it used to be that the customer was always right. And I understand that that can't be the case in every situation, but I approached them for help, and I was being honest, and I told them what had happened. And I feel that they could have used some discretion and understood, and also acknowledged that, yes, it can happen. I was at fault for forgetting to tag on, but I think it is an honest mistake, and that it can happen many times throughout the day, some people forgetting to tag on, and if all these people are paying $100 each, it's revenue building for Transperth. Well, what I think happens actually is that until it goes to court, you're considered guilty until you're proven innocent. But as soon as you say that, oh, I'm going to take this to court, that's a venue where they have to prove you're guilty. You're innocent until proven guilty, and the onus is on them to prove that you're guilty, and they couldn't possibly do it. The video footage would have shown me trying to go through a turnstile, being blocked because I didn't have a valid ticket, looking around, seeing a Transperth official. I went over to that official or officer, and I handed him, as I spoke to him, I handed him my smart card saying that I'd forgotten to tag on. He never asked for it. And in the letters that Mr. Armstrong was sending me, he said that regulations say you have to produce a valid ticket on demand. Nobody asked me for my ticket. I volunteered it. Well, I think that this particular case is now closed, but I gave them lots of opportunity. Every letter I wrote, I said that my respect can be regained through an apology. And that's what I would have hoped would be the outcome, that when they decided to... He actually took it to the prosecution's department after my second letter. He said that he took it to the prosecution's department and they decided to waive the infringement. But there was no apology, no acceptance that I was really innocent. They were just being nice, and if it happened again, the outcome might not be as favorable. But ideally, I would have liked to have an apology.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be back after the break with a Vox Pop on shark attack prevention.